The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5 is here, it's in the house, but this year, I won't be switching. Now that doesn't mean you don't have to switch to it. Let's talk about all of that, but before we do that, let's see what we get inside the box. Now the unboxing experience is pretty straightforward. It is a slim box because there is no charger included. Inside, we do get the device. There's a pack with a USB Type-C cable, some paperwork, as well as a SIM card tool. And here it is. Now from the front and most of the angles, I wouldn't blame you if you thought that this was the Fold 4 because it looks almost exactly the same. Now, if you remember when the Fold 4 came out, I was very excited. I actually switched to that device as my daily smartphone for quite some time, but then I decided to switch back to the S22 Ultra. And there were a few reasons for that, reasons which I don't feel have been addressed on the Fold 5. Now, the Fold 5 is actually built really well. We've got a solid design with Armor Aluminium and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 with the ultra thin glass. And it still has an IPX8 water resistant rating, which is amazing for a foldable device. And I believe the Flip and the Fold series are still some of the only foldable devices with this rating. Now, the biggest physical change on the Fold 5 compared to the Fold 4 is that we now have this new flex hinge and there is no gap in the middle. So Samsung has now opted for the teardrop design, which we've seen many other manufacturers do. And having that zero gap means you're going to get less dust into the device when you're putting it in and out of your pocket. It's also around 10 grams lighter. I've got the icy blue color here, which I think looks really nice. There's also a phantom black as well as a cream. There are two exclusive colors available from Samsung.com. There's a gray as well as a darker blue. If you are interested in picking those up, there will be an affiliate link down in the description below. That's also going to give you double the storage as well as up to $1,000 for a trade-in. That is for a limited time only, however. Right, so overall, it's a nice design. And if you hadn't seen many of the foldables, you might actually think this is the best foldable design out there. However, we do now have some more competition. So here is the Google Pixel Fold and my favorite foldable right now, the Honor Magic V2. The thing you'll notice on both of these is that we have a much wider, a much more usable cover display in my opinion. Now, arguably having a narrow display like this may make the Fold 5 easier to use with one hand, especially if you're using swipe to type. However, in my personal experience, having such a narrow display meant that I would have to keep unfolding the device if I wanted to do anything practical. With the Pixel Fold as well as the Honor Magic V2, you can pretty much use it as a regular smartphone on your day-to-day. But when you do want to experience maybe some gaming, viewing content, doing multitasking, what you need a bigger screen for, then you can fold them open and utilize that folding display. And the Pixel Fold, although it's heavier compared to the Fold 5, it is actually thinner. And the Honor Magic V2, not only is it lighter, around 16 grams lighter, it's also considerably thinner compared to the Fold 5. Now, despite this, the Honor Magic V2 has a larger 5,000 mAh battery overall compared to the 4,400 on the Fold 5. Now this is the same as what we had on the Fold 4, and although the battery life was relatively good on the Fold 4, it wasn't amazing and I did find myself having to charge it a lot more than I would have liked. The other thing to keep in mind is that maybe the reason why you don't get great battery life on the Fold 4 is because the display is so narrow. You do have to open it up and use the larger folding display, which takes up more battery as well. Now, there's obviously lots of other factors to consider when you're looking at a foldable, such as the different software experiences, the durability, the hinge, but in terms of the overall hardware, I think Samsung has started to fall behind some of the competition here. If you do want me to do a detailed comparison between the Fold 5 and say the Pixel Fold or the Honor Magic V2, then do consider subscribing here to the channel and let me know down in the comments below. Now, I don't necessarily want to take away from the displays of the Fold 5. They're still really nice. They're bright, 120 Hz for both the cover as well as the main display. And the main display is now actually bright to 1750 nits. Now, although the battery size is the same, this is now powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, which is a lot more efficient. So that should improve battery life, but again, with the different form factor, you would have been able to get in a large battery. Now, moving on to the cameras, although we do have a new image signal processor with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 that should improve images, we still have the same camera hardware. So there's a 10 megapixel camera here at the front. There's the 4 megapixel under display camera, which has remained pretty much unchanged since it was introduced on Fold 3. And the rear facing cameras, again, they're the same: 12 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel primary, as well as a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto camera. Now, I'm not saying that these cameras are bad, and in my experience, the Fold 4 actually had really good cameras. However, there isn't much of a change compared to the Fold 4. Now, one thing I do want to give Samsung praise for is support for the S Pen on the Fold 5. Now, we've had this before. However, on the Fold 4, I decided not to use it because it just had a bulky case, which made this already thick device even thicker. But the Fold series is still the only folding device that has support for a pen. The new pen is now IP68 rated, just the pen, and it's much smaller. So although it's not enclosed, the case that you get is not as bulky as what we've had previously. Now, with the S Pen, I like it. The case is a little bit more usable, but because the Fold 4 is already thick and thicker compared to other folding devices, it's still not that practical. And the S Pen still only works on the foldable display, not the cover display. So if you just want to take it out of your pocket and just do a quick note, you're not going to be able to do that like you can do on, say, the S23 Ultra. Now, again, in my opinion, if the device was slightly wider, even if it wasn't any thinner, that would have given space to enclose an S Pen potentially. And that would have meant that you wouldn't have to have this separately in a case which is more compact compared to before, but is still bulky. Now, I don't want to discredit the S Pen on the Fold entirely. It is very unique and it's something that you don't necessarily have to get if you don't want to, but this is just my feedback. And Samsung does have some of the best foldable software because they have been doing it for so long. So the S Pen is now compatible with GoodNotes. We've got some new drag and drop features. The taskbar has been updated, so you've got your 4 recent opened apps. And you also have Flex Mode panel, which is going to give you some quick controls, as well as being able to use the bottom half of the screen as a touchpad. Now, the final reason why I personally won't be switching is the price. So the Fold 5 is actually going to be £100 more in the UK for the base model. However, in the US, it will be starting at the same price. Now, I get it. The UK economy hasn't been great over the past year. And there is inflation, but considering that this is quite an incremental update compared to the Fold 4, having to pay extra for it as well isn't the best thing. Now, Samsung is giving some really good trade-in deals, up to $1,000 that you can get, as well as giving you double storage using my affiliate link down in the description below. And although those are the reasons why I personally won't be switching to the Fold 5, it doesn't mean that you don't have to. You might prefer the more narrow display. You might like all of the software features and the support for the S Pen, which you're not going to get on any other foldable. Maybe you're coming from a Fold 2 or Fold 3. Maybe this will be your first foldable. I do think you will really enjoy it. I'm just sharing with you my personal reasons, which might be different to yours. If you'd like to see my coverage of the Fold 4 from last year, that video is going to be linked here, as well as coverage from the other foldable from Samsung this year, which in my opinion has had a much bigger upgrade, the Flip 5. What do you think of the Fold 5? Will you be getting one? Do drop me a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more videos with the Fold 5 as well as the Flip 5, do consider subscribing and hit that bell icon. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.